Conference play is here and the road to Sioux Falls is officially underway. Happy New Year and thanks for joining us on the Bison Basketball Show. I'm Brian Shawn. Both the North Dakota State men's and women's basketball teams got to open Summit League play at home, each playing a pair of games at the Shack to close out December. The men hosting South Dakota to start, and in the past 4 meetings between the Coyotes and Bison, the road team has won. Both teams got off to a slow start offensively in this contest, but Tyson Ward off the bench ties things up as he drops in the corner 3. South Dakota would finish the half strong, building a double-digit lead. Stanley Amude would lead the Coyotes with 17 points, including this emphatic dunk. Vinny Shahid would answer on the other end with a tough drive in traffic. He had 8 points and 7 rebounds, but NDSU would trail by 9 at halftime. In the second half, USD keeping the pressure on. Off the turnover, Cody Kelly up to Trey Birch Manning for the lay-in and the foul. He added 12 points and the lead back to double digits. But NDSU getting back into the game behind the strong inside play of Dengu. He scored 11 second-half points as NDSU closes the gap with 11 minutes left. Gu would give NDSU the lead with 7 to go. Another nice move in the paint. He had a game-high 20 points on 9 of 13 shooting. With the Bison down 3, Ward crashing the glass and is able to put it back up and in. He added 17 points, 7 rebounds, and a team-high 5 assists. In crunch time, the 2 biggest baskets of the game were from sophomore guard Jordan Horn. He hits the long 3 to give NDSU the lead with 3 minutes left. Then stepping in and banking in another tough shot for a 4-point lead. He added 10 points off the bench. North Dakota State hits its free throws late and rallies for a 71-65 victory, outscoring USD by 15 points in the second half. The Bison had 47 bench points compared to just 4 by the Coyotes. NDSU a quick turnaround, hosting Purdue Fort Wayne at the Shack the very next day, and the Bison were rolling offensively early. Tyson Ward, another big game off the bench, aggressive drive to the rim for the big throwdown. Sophomore Tyree Edey also had the hot hand, hitting a pair of threes and scoring a season-high 12 points as NDSU builds a lead. Just before half, Vinny Shahid dropping in another 3. NDSU had 7 triples and shot 60% from the field for a 12-point lead going into the locker room. In the second half, Jared Samuelson got hot from outside the arc. He hit 5 threes in the game and led the Bison with 17 points. But Fort Wayne makes a push in the final 10 minutes. D. Montgomery coming up with the loose ball and taking it all the way for 2 of his 16 points, and that trims the lead to 6. But the story of the game was Mastodon senior John Conchar. He follows up his own miss from the line and puts it back in for 2. Then with under a minute left, hits the tough step back 3 for a 4-point lead. He had 21 second half points. The Bison down 3 in the final seconds with a chance to tie. Shahid launches from deep and connects for 3, and the game heads to overtime, tied at 83 apiece. Ward had NDSU's only field goal in the extra frame, sliding inside for the lay-in. He scored 16 points on the night, but with the game tied in the closing seconds, Conchar another deep step-back 3, and that wins it. He scored 38 points as Purdue Fort Wayne pulls off the comeback, 90-87 in overtime. The Bison hit 12 threes overall and shot 17 of 18 from the line in the loss.
That's a good team that we played. All credit to them. They came in here and they beat us. And we didn't execute as we wanted to down the stretch, but like you said, that's Summit League play. We just got to learn from that and get better from that.
We're excited to play South Dakota. Then we got it postponed, and then we found out it was at noon the next day. So it gave us an extra 24 hours to get ready. So I think it was just a grind. We battled a lot of fatigue with these 2 back-to-backs, but that just comes with the game.
Stay with us here on the Bison Basketball Show. We sit down with NDSU men's basketball coach Dave Richman to get his thoughts on the opening weekend of league play.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Nodak Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to the Bison Basketball Show. NDSU men's basketball coach Dave Richman joining us after a split on the weekend at home to open up Summit League play. a big second half comeback against South Dakota, a wild game against Purdue Fort Wayne. I think you probably expected it would be like this, and I think this is just a taste of what we're going to see all season long.
Yeah, I mentioned it post game after the USD game. There's a lot of parity top to bottom in this league, and we were fortunate to hang on in that second half and make a big comeback and fight really hard in the second half and get the USD one. But unfortunately dropped the one here against a very talented Fort Wayne team.
What do you take away from this? There's so many momentum shifts between a game and so many different lineups, and I still think you guys are still trying to figure out who you are. I guess what did you take most away from the first two games here in conference play?
Well, that it's going to be a knockdown, drag out, basically every night, just like it always has been. You're well scouted. There's good players. There's familiarity with the gyms that teams are getting into, and so we've got to be prepared. I think the biggest thing that we mentioned to our guys is all the little things. Those little things that at the 15-minute mark of the first half, and then the 12-minute mark, and then the 4-minute mark of the second half. All those little things, maybe a box out, maybe not getting matched up in transition. Those things add up into the big thing, and that's the result. And you're either on the positive or negative side of that.
Well, we saw against South Dakota, Dengu have a monster second half, Rocky Cruiser as well. And then against Purdue Fort Wayne, it was Vinny Shahid at times, and then it was Tyree Edie at times. And I just think if anything else, Dave, you take away that everybody contributed something on the weekend positive, and that's something you can certainly build on.
Well, certainly, make no mistake, this is a frustrating one. We dropped one at home, and now it's important to go get one back on the road. But we still got 14 of these things left, and you're right. There's there's some versatility. We have different parts. And as we continue to iron out those details of when different parts are effective, different matchups, different lineups, then it's really going to get rolling. We're going to start to get some pieces back healthy, which is encouraging too as well.
How challenging was it to play back-to-back days? I guess nothing else, it gets you ready for what you're going to see in March a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm not a big excuse guy, Brian, and in fact, that's where you give Coach Kaufman and his program a lot of credit. They had worse circumstances than us, being on the road, 2 other poor days of travel, and they handled it too. And so, it's certainly different. But when it really matters in March, we're going to be under these same circumstances. And so hopefully we can learn from these and be better when it comes to that time.
And then now you go to Omaha for a road game on Wednesday, first road game in league, an opportunity against a Maverick team that has shown some positives as well. I think another group that's still trying to kind of find itself a little bit. Should be another fun one.
Absolutely, and I think, in talking to Darren too, he really likes his group, and he should. What you see is they're healthier than they've been in the past couple of years. And they've got some veteran experience, Zach Jackson, Mitch Hahn, some seniors. JT Gibson's a guy that's in his 4th year of the program, and they're playing like that. The Pyle kid, there's a guy that they can throw it into and give you a different look. And so it's important that we get some quick rest here but start getting introed into Omaha, because that's going to be another big contest for us Wednesday night.
How excited are you just to get into this now? You've seen what this is going to be like, but it is kind of fun to be a part of these big games like this and these final moments where so much is on the line.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. If you're a competitor and you get your competitive juices flowing, as disappointing as it is to be on the wrong side of this, it's a good college basketball game if you step back from it. Now it's my job to put ourselves in a better position, so when we got a 15-point lead like we did in the second half, we can finish it a little bit better.
All right, Dave, thanks as always for the time. We appreciate it. Best wishes to you, and Happy New Year to you and your family as well. Got to turn the clock already here
it's
on
already
2019.
That time, isn't it? Yeah.
Can you believe
Thank you,
it?
Brian. Happy New Year to you guys as well.
All right, Dave Richman joining us here on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. Maren Walseth and company also hosted 2 games to open Summit League play. We'll check in on that performance with the Bison women after this. Welcome back. The North Dakota State women's basketball team is much closer to full strength after playing with a limited roster through non-conference play. The Bison hosting Fort Wayne at home to get league play started. The Bison looking for their 3rd straight victory over the Mastodons and putting together a 10-0 run to start the game. Tyra Spencer crossing over and cruising in for the lay-in. She played all 20 minutes in the first half. Late in the first quarter, NDSU getting a bucket as Circling Rimdahl grabs the loose ball and banks it in just before the horn sounds, her only basket of the game. The Bison would stretch the lead in the second quarter behind the play of sophomore guard Sofia Jovalovic. The tough drive and finish in traffic. Teammate Marina Fernandez would follow suit, crossing over and laying in 2 more. North Dakota State outscored Purdue Fort Wayne 21-4 in the second quarter to take a 37-13 lead going into the locker room. The Bison don't let up in the third quarter. Fernandez setting up Spencer for the corner 3. She finished with 12 points and 4 assists. Jovalovic would drive and dish to Danica Vagley for yet another lay-in. She chipped in with 8 points off the bench. The Bison had 23 bench points overall as the lead grows to 27. The Mastodons would rally to tighten things up in the fourth quarter. Hannah Albrecht had back-to-back threes, all a part of a 15-0 run to get back within 11. But NDSU would come up with some key free throws to turn the tide, and Jovalovic comes up with a big steal, outrunning everybody for the lay-in. She had a team-high 16 points as the Bison win their conference opener. North Dakota State was 21 of 29 from the line and got 13 points off turnovers. The University of South Dakota would make the trek to Fargo 2 days later. The Bison once again getting off to a fast start, opening the game on a 7-0 run. Michelle Geislerova connecting on a couple of early jumpers for 5 quick points. The Coyotes would respond with a 15-0 run of their own. Madison McKeever sparking things on the defensive end with the steal, taking it in for the layup plus the foul. She scored 13 on the afternoon. North Dakota State would close the gap as Marina Fernandez hits the three. She added 7 points, and it was 15-13 after 1 quarter. Riley Nudell would come off the bench and provide some energy, scoring 8 points in 22 minutes. Geislerova the long assist for the lay-in underneath. Emily Dietz able to finish the half on a high note, rebounding her own miss, scoring inside plus the foul. NDSU limited to 25 first-half points and trailed by 13 after 20 minutes of play. USD would really pick up the defense and limit the Bison's opportunities on the offensive end in the third quarter. Dietz converting the lay-in. She was the only Bison player in double digits with 12. And South Dakota would pull away. Hannah Shervin came off the bench and scored a team-high 15 points in 18 minutes of action. The Coyotes had 34 points in the paint to pull away for the 67-41 victory. North Dakota State was held to just 5 field goals in the second half, while South Dakota forced 17 turnovers to pick up the league victory.
I think we just got to stay mentally focused. I mean, we don't have a game for a little bit, and we just got to make sure that practice is good and make sure that we're giving it our all and getting better. We're excited to get back and play against Omaha and just take the sting of this game and work hard in practice to come back.
We won the first game, but we need to be able to compete in the Summit League, and today we only competed for the first quarter, and that's just not what we need to do. We have to compete for 40 minutes. I think we have to put this game behind us and just work harder in practice, compete harder, just play harder, because in some aspects of the game they just played harder, they tried harder, and that's not what our team wants to be presented as.
We now welcome in NDSU women's basketball coach Maren Walseth to chat about the Bison's opening weekend of conference play. 2 home games to start things off against Purdue Fort Wayne and South Dakota. And let's go back to the game against the Mastodons first. Conference opener. I think your team looked ready, looked a little fresher certainly after a kind of a grind of a non-conference season, Maren. But got to be pleased with the way your team started that game and then extended the lead into the third quarter and gave your squad some breathing room.
I was very pleased with the urgency and the intensity that we came out with. We can put together a 21-0 run. That means that we're not only scoring the basketball, but we're also playing good defense. I was very pleased with that going into halftime. And when you look at the big picture, it was a great way to start conference play.
You know, Sofia Jovalovic, we haven't really had a chance to talk about her because she just started playing before our last show aired. And I think that's one of those things where she came in, she played really well. With her parents in the crowd all the way over from Montenegro, she scored 16 points in her debut in the Summit League. Had to be encouraging for you to see that. It
was. I really like the scorer's mentality that Soph plays with, but also the pace that she can go at. And when you have Soph and Tyra on the floor at the same time, I think they're able to play and push the pace up and down, but also in the half court.
It was also a balanced effort, too, I thought, against Fort Wayne. You know, Sophia had 16 points, but Tyra Spencer chipped in. Emily Dietz had her moments. It was probably good from a bench standpoint to see everybody get out there, do something positive, and distribute the minutes a little bit more evenly.
It is. You know, now we have 9 in the rotation, and so we have another body. But being able to get quality minutes for the majority of our players, but also balance scoring, I think that gives everybody confidence as well.
And then a quick turnaround having to host a team in South Dakota that's playing really good basketball, had won 10 of 11 coming in here, and the Coyotes did not play a weekend game before they came to town, so maybe a little bit fresher. I think they looked like that, especially in the second half.
They did, and honestly, South Dakota is a very talented basketball team, knocking off some very formidable opponents, both in the mid-major, but also at a BCS level this year. And when you also think they haven't lost a conference game in over a year, we knew we had our hands full, and they really came out and they threw the first punch. We were able to stay with them for a while, but they're a very good basketball team.
But the one thing we saw in both games were quick starts. We saw a quick spurt to get out on top of Fort Wayne 10-2, and then a 7-0 run to start against South Dakota. That, I guess, from nothing else, you can take that away, that your kids have come out ready to play both games.
Absolutely. They understand the scouting report. They execute that scouting report to start the game. They're locked in. They're engaged. So we like that.
So now you get a whole week to get ready before your first road trip to Omaha on conference play. Is that a good time, maybe after having two kind of tough home games, to get a week to maybe rest the legs a little bit? School's not back in session yet, and maybe an opportunity to try to get ready and try to go get a road win.
Absolutely. I think it's an interesting dynamic when you look at our conference schedule. There are some weeks we have 3 games in a week, and then there are other weeks that we have a full week off. And there's positives and negatives to both, but being able to come out of the opening weekend 1-1, regroup, add to the playbook, fine-tune a few things before going on our first road trip, I think that's a positive, and I know our players will buy in as well.
Well, an opportunity to rest the legs and get ready to go. Have a good trip down to Omaha and be safe.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, too, by the way.
Happy New Year to you, too.
All right, 2019. Can you believe it? It's already here. Bison Basketball Show will continue after this. We'll go one-on-one with Bison junior forward Tyson Ward. That's after this. Welcome back. Late in the spring of 2016, the North Dakota State coaching staff found a late bloomer down in Tampa, Florida, named Tyson Ward, and convinced him to come to Fargo. A couple years later, he's now one of the veterans on the team. This week, we go one-on-one with the Bison junior forward. Back for more one-on-one. Junior guard forward Tyson Ward joining us here. And Tyson, you're now one of the elder statesmen on this team. I've talked to a few of the other guys after losing some of the seniors, not a senior on the roster, so all of a sudden that must change your role moving forward. How has it this last summer and into the fall?
It's been crazy. Obviously I feel old, watching some of those guys go away like AJ and Paul and Spence. It's a whole different role, because last year you weren't really dependent on the lead as like on the floor and off the floor, and now you got to step up and help those younger guys come into the process and kind of slow down and not pick up the pace and everything. It's a big change, and I got to get used to it a little bit, but I kind of like it.
Absolutely. And I know after every season, in the off season, it's always looking at what can I do to help my game, develop my game more. What are some things you looked at from yourself after reflecting a little bit and said, I gotta get better at this and this and this?
Well, over the summer, I really focused on getting to the right hand, counter moves, going to my left and coming back to my right, because I'm all left mostly. And I just thought that, I think that if I brought another dynamic to my game, I could set myself up to go back to my other hand and make it a lot easier, and the game will come a lot easier.
You talk to some of the older players and some of the younger players, they always say the key sometimes is slowing down and not letting your offense impact your defense. But that's a mental thing. How tough is that to get over that hurdle? Because as a younger player, you want to do everything well, and sometimes you press a little bit. That's just the nature of it.
No, absolutely. I kind of had to learn that as soon as I got in here my freshman year. It was just offense, and and it kind of brings you down, because you have that you're not mentally tough yet. You still think that the only way you can impact the team is by scoring, and it's obviously you can do little things like rebounding, assists, playing defense, and I really think that that's what really helps your game defensively first, and then it comes down to the offensive end, and you keep that same mindset and everything will be all right.
You were the leading rebounder a year ago, so that's obviously something you've taken a lot of pride in. What is the biggest key of being a good rebounder, especially in the Summit League?
It's a little weird to me, because I think I have a ability to find the ball off the rim. Like if you shot the ball right now, I can tell you which way it's going to come off. And
should I shoot it right now? Can you tell me what's coming off?
I mean, like yeah, probably. I think it'd be tough.
You know it's going to be a miss though when I shoot it.
Oh, I don't know. I've seen your jump shots. It's kind of nice. But it's weird, because like I find this I find the spin on the ball, and then I find where it's going to hit on the point of the rim, and I just kind of read off that. So if I know it's going to go in, I tend to back off. But when it's going off, you just got to find that part of the rim, and it's all geometry.
You did have an opportunity to be a reporter for us. What kind of feedback did you get from people after your reporting experience at the Green and Gold Gala?
I was told to quit playing basketball and become a reporter. And so I didn't do that, but
I might think about it.
Changing major maybe to communication a little bit?
Might be a little too late for that. But I definitely thought it was a fun thing to do, and I definitely love to do it again.
We might have to make that happen at the Green and Gold Gala. Are you down for it again?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to hold you to that. Tyson Ward, our MidcoSN correspondent and a junior forward for the Bison. Ward scored a season-high 16 points in NDSU's home opener against UC Santa Barbara and is the team's leading rebounder at nearly 5 boards per game. After a quick timeout, we'll be back with a look at the upcoming schedule and the league standings.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Nodak Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Time now to take a look ahead for the Bison men and women, with each team playing just one league game this week. Dave Richman and company will head to Omaha for a game tonight, which can be seen on Midco Sports Network. And then the Bison will come home to host Dickinson State in the final non-conference game of the season. The NDSU women play just one road game at Omaha on Sunday afternoon. That game can also be seen on MidcoSN 2. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next time on the Bison Basketball Show.